Hey everyone, and welcome to this episode of MMONFT, where we're taking a look at the technical test of Ember Sword. The technical test of Ember Sword is only open for a limited time for those who have purchased land or badges. So let's jump in and check it out. For those unfamiliar with Ember Sword, it is an MMORPG that is a curious mix of a RuneScape-like economy mixed with a MOBA-style gameplay. On launch, players will be able to craft, battle, and sell items through what Brightstar Studios suggest will be a robust player-driven economy, and some of those items will be sold as NFTs. Players will also have the ability to buy, earn, and trade Ember tokens, and if you purchased one of the badges, you have an allotted number of Ember tokens awaiting you, and the amount directly correlates to the level of badge you purchased. If you've watched our previous episodes of MMONFT and you noticed some of the offline demo gameplay that I had the opportunity to play before, keep in mind that this technical test is not that. The technical test is an online demo that streams directly through the browser, and I'm able to play and chat with dozens of other players. In the offline demo, it had some combat available, but I couldn't chat, craft, and the gathering didn't really work. So, you see here in the tech test on this menu that there are only a handful of available options on what you can do. The menus between the technical test and the offline demo are very different. Combat isn't even mentioned in the technical test. Essentially, what we're going to spend most of our time focusing on is exploring the world and harvesting and crafting. We see a few other players hopping about, going on their merry way, but we have several items available for harvesting around, and even with such a small set of players testing at the moment, resources can often be hard to come by. It's also kind of hard to see which resources you can actually harvest and which you can't. Here we found a farm, and some of the items require that you increase your gathering level before you're able to harvest the larger items, like the pumpkins. I picked a bunch of carrots and onions, and you can see that the leveling system during the technical test is largely skill-based. If you harvest, that particular gathering proficiency increases. This also continues on with mining and woodcutting. You also have two crafting abilities that you can level, one of which is cooking and the other is smithing. What's cool about the smithing portion is that you can craft items that actually have some stats and percentage increases, and you can see those take effect immediately when you equip them. Obviously, the number of options for gear has been greatly reduced as this is only a technical test, which is kind of a pre-alpha designation of testing. But it's cool to see that the team has already started to put thought into how gear works. Some gear pieces actually decrease some stats and others increase them. So while a lot of this is subject to change in the future, it looks like the team is really focusing on negative trade-offs so that players can make some interesting builds. Some of the sound effects appear to be placeholder, like this gathering sound effect. It was the same one used during the offline demo I played when I ate fish. So either I'm eating everything I attempt to harvest, or we're just using placeholder sounds. It's also clear that in this expanded world, which is much larger than the offline demo I tried, there are no real distinctions between water and land. That's a big departure from the offline demo, where I had to kind of bug out the game so I could stand on water. I was able to contact the Ember Sword team and ask a few questions. You can read the entirety of their answers on the accompanying article over on MMORPG.com, but here's the too long didn't read version of what I asked and their answers. But again, for context and clarity, you should definitely read their responses in the article. I started by asking what kind of feedback they expected to receive during the technical test. Essentially, they said that they are looking to get as much information as possible to optimize their engine and server. While it's not a finished version of the game in the slightest, they're hoping to examine the game while testers are playing and eventually use that information to make a better game. I also asked them if there were a number of systems that were disabled for the test, and they did confirm that a lot of the features like combat were disabled, and that they wanted to provide their best foot forward with a system like combat so players could get the sense of how that system will truly play out. Personally, from my offline demo test, I thought the combat was kind of fun and promising, but I hope to see how it has evolved when they finally push that live in later tests. The technical test is also broken up into separate play sessions, so I asked them if any features or systems would change between the current test and the upcoming tests. And they confirmed that the only major change between testing is that future tests would be more aggressive in their server approach. They'll have denser populations to put more stress on the servers. So if you're playing the technical test right now and you're wondering if the new tests are going to have anything different, probably not. Just means that you may see more players in those tests. As far as technical tests go, you kind of have to go into this knowing that it's not going to be a great experience. A technical test isn't a finished product. In fact, it's not even at the alpha stage yet, so Ember Sword has a long, long way to go. The small number of systems that were in place for this test that actually worked seemed alright, but if we look at this as a first public alpha test, it would be really disappointing. No combat, walking on water, falling through the floor. It would seem like a very small indie development studio threw together a demo. However, since I did try the offline demo, and this isn't an alpha version of the game, I'd have to say that Ember Sword still has quite a lot of promise. It's still very early in development, but alpha is supposed to head our way in several months, and I look forward to seeing how the build has evolved by then. And that is our preview of the technical test of Ember Sword. Thanks everyone for checking out this episode of MMONFT. Head on over to MMORPG.com and read the whole article. You can find the link in the description. Until next time.